People pleasing is a toxic trait. This is one of those things I don't think anybody talks about as being a toxic trait. You can talk about being selfish, being this, that, and the other, and all these other red flags, but I don't think anyone ever really talks about how people pleasing is actually a super toxic trait. That's what I'm going to be talking about in this video. So if you guys enjoy this, don't forget to let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, whether you agree or disagree. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you're a people pleaser, if you've experienced people pleasing, let's all discuss this, because this is an interesting, I guess you could say, revelation that I came to. Don't forget to hit the subscribe if you're feeling the vibe and you want to join the tribe. Of course, don't forget to like the video as well. And let's talk about this. So I'll give you guys a backstory because I think it's helpful to have a foundation to kind of jump off of before I start making wild claims. The other day, I was thinking, it was like 5, 6, 7 in the morning. It was dark. I just woke up and I was thinking for a number of hours because I didn't have work for a while. I just had extra time. I knew I wasn't going back to bed, so I decided to sit and think in the dark, which is something I do quite a lot, by the way. And in that moment, I realized that I was a people pleaser, and that the crux of that is that I don't believe I deserve good things. Now, I don't want you guys to feel sorry for me. There's nothing to feel sorry for me about. I'm only saying this because I really want to help anybody else who's in my boat. I'm saying this because I'm going to show how this is actually a super toxic trait in relationships, because this is the conversation I was having with the Lord. Right? Because when you're a people pleaser, you do everything for everybody else. You just want to be accepted. You just want to be loved. You just want to be whatever, right? Make sure everybody's happy. But here's the thing. We as human beings are built to, I'll tell you guys the 3 forms of relationships that I believe that that exist, right? And there's relationships with 2 selfish people, right? They both only in it to serve themselves. They both serve themselves, and that relationship will last a long time if that agreement works for what they want for themselves, and or it will end very quickly because they're always going to be, against each other because they're so selfish to themselves, right? So that relationships don't work with that. You have the second group of people. This is oftentimes the group of people that a lot of people pleasers find themselves in, where you are a selfless person with a selfish person, right? And this is the type of relationship people get into with narcissistic types of human beings, because narcissists look for people pleasers. Narcissists target empaths because they know, I can take from you, and I will not give to you, and you will stay around because you're a people pleaser. This is where it becomes toxic, right? Because then you're always depleted, you're always at zero because you're giving everything into this relationship. You're putting this person always before you. They're never doing the same, and so the energy exchange that's supposed to exist in a relationship isn't happening. All that's happening is a one-sided exchange. You're giving into them and they're taking. So oftentimes people pleasers will find themselves being depressed in relationships, find themselves being feeling tired, depleted, exhausted, right? Because they just give. You might not see it like that. You might think you just have mental health issues, but in reality, that's the situation you're in. Then we have the third option, which is you have a selfless person. Now that's how I believe God intended for marriage to be. You have 2 people together who are prepared to put the other person before themselves. When 2 people do that together simultaneously, that is going to create, the perfect circle of love. Not to sound like a proper romantic, but because I care more about you, you care more about me. I'm trying more to understand you, you're trying more to understand me. I'm give to you, you're give to me. That creates a circle of never-ending love, right? Just like a wedding ring. That is where you want to be. So when you are a people pleaser, here's the thing. In the sense of where you're giving, you might be putting yourself in a situation where you are not necessarily in the place to receive and receive well. You might not be in the position where you're able to articulate what it is that you want, because you don't even care about what you want, because you just care about what the other person wants. Now, it might sound fine in the meantime, right? It might sound like, oh, well, I'm just going to put myself aside. What I think a lot of people pleasers don't realize, and this is based on my observations of a lot of situations, both personal and just in my research in general, right, is that a lot of people pleasers are actually unhappy and they don't even realize that it is. And a lot of people pleasers are depressed or whatever because they don't realize that it's them being a people pleaser that is ruining the relationship. For example, right, I think this happens a lot of times in relationships when it comes to things like sex, right? You could have somebody who's a people pleaser. I'm going to do everything to please you, but I'm not comfortable saying what pleases me. Now, in the meantime, that might sound okay. That might sound like, oh, that's okay because you're happy at least, and I want you to be happy. But guess what? Because you're not really incentivized to be partaking in the activities, you're then eventually going to become fed up of doing this thing because it's like you're not getting anything out of it. So now it's not even a big deal to you to do it because you're not even thinking it's something where you need to feel satisfied because you're so busy people pleasing, and then that's going to cause issues in your relationship. And that's where I think a lot of women are today who don't want to have sex in their relationships, because it's one of those things that sticks out to me that I talk about with the Lord. I'm like, God, you mean to tell me that I'm gonna sit like there's no way I'm gonna sit here as a single woman, trying keeping my legs closed as best as I possibly can, and then I'm gonna be married and not gonna want to have sex? Are you kidding me? Why does this happen? And there's so many levels of things. And I think one thing that us as ladies do is we don't speak up about what we need. We're not good at saying, I do enjoy this, or I do want this, or I don't want that, and I don't want that, right? Sometimes you are dealing with a selfish lover, don't get me wrong. That happens too. Sometimes you are not saying what you want. Sometimes no one can read your mind. You're too busy people pleasing. You think it's a good thing. You think, oh, I'm just so caring. I'm just so considerate. If you're caring to the point where you no longer want to do something that you should be able to enjoy together, and it's now causing issues because you're so busy giving to them that you don't get anything out of it, and therefore you're not invested in it, that's a problem. Right? In the same way that's not just in that regard, that's like even as far as giving in a literal sense, even if it's gifts and stuff, right? If you're always giving somebody gifts, and I've seen a lot of people who build up this resentment. A lot of people in relationships, people pleasers, build up resentment because they do a lot for somebody, and then they're like, oh, well, I paid for this and I did that, or I did this for you so many times and I did that and you haven't. What have you done? First of all, right? Were you people pleasing? Some people are gonna this is what I've learned, guys. People will treat you how you let them treat you. This is what I had to learn the hard way. The extremely hard, difficult, traumatic way. People will treat you how you let them treat you. If you let most people, I said this to you guys before, I believe that most people, if they can get away with taking advantage of you, they will do it. If they can get away with getting more out of a situation with you, they will do it. The only way you're going to decipher from who's serious and who's not is you actually setting boundaries and standards for yourself. And that's what a pitfall a lot of us ladies fall into as well, is that we think, oh, because you're in a relationship with me, because you're this with me, then you're going to have to do this. Oh, no, 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 no. What you allow is what you set up for the relationship. That's one of the reasons why I actually believe the one thing that the Bible says is a reason for a marriage to end, obviously other than one person dying, is cheating. Because if someone cheats on someone and then the other person stays, no judgment to anybody who does that, but the person who cheated is more incentivized to do it again because they know they can get away with it. Do you see what I'm saying? And that's why I think even the Bible says that. So I've been realizing more and more that people pleasing is a toxic trait. Let's talk about friendships. If you're in a friend group and all you do is just say what you think your girlfriends or your guy friends want to hear, I'm going to be unhappy again, because deep down, this is my belief, that deep down we all know what we truly think and feel. We can suppress it as much as possible. We can ignore it. We can deal with it in whatever we do on our own. In reality, we all know how we're really feeling on the inside. In reality, we all know what we're really feeling deep down, and we can only ignore it for so long, right? And so you in your friendship group doing that, you're going to first of all attract friends who don't accept you and love you for who you are. You could also attract friends who love you because you do everything for them, and then that could also build resentment in you. Because do you see how this is a toxic trait? I don't know if you guys are seeing this, but do you see how this is a toxic trait, right? You see this even in families, right? You could have families where people, especially like children of their parents, will do everything to please their parents, right? And then what happens? You become to live for them, you're not happy. The second you start to live for yourself, you realize that some of you were not in situations where your family even loved you, or your parents, whatever. They were convenienced by the fact you did everything that they wanted you to do. Right? How many people in the African community, so in the black community, go to university to become a doctor or a lawyer? Why? Just so that your mum can go to church on Sunday and tell all the other aunties, oh yeah, my daughter's a doctor, my son is a lawyer. Is that all that it is? You're people pleasing, but then you're actually hating law school. You're getting into debt now. You're destroying your own life. And guess what? When you get to the other side, nobody cares. You're gonna be by yourself, and people are gonna be like, oh well, you're an adult now, so how can you complain about the decisions? You're an adult, you just have to live with it, which is true to some extent. But the truth is, the people pleasing element, the part of you that should have just said, you know what, that's not what I want to do. This is what I think is important to, as if any for those other people pleasers out there, you've got to learn to live in balance. You got to learn to choose people who are selfless like you. And then even in that, still be okay with saying what you do and what you don't want. Be okay with that. Right? Be okay with knowing that, yes, I like this, no, I don't like that. It doesn't mean you have to be forceful. It doesn't mean you have to nag people. It means that you have an understanding of yourself, because people pleasers often lose themselves. They become chameleons. You just go along with whatever's happening. And let me tell you guys, as somebody who's had to be breaking out of people pleasing, it is shocking how I've lost literally practically everybody in my entire life. The more that I decided not to be not to be selfish, not to be rude, just to follow a path that was different from what people thought, right? Just to do what made me happy. It could be the smallest types of things. It could be what I choose to eat for my own meals, right? It could be what I choose to do for a job. I'm not talking about big things. And you'll be surprised how people will fall away, because why? They're used to us all doing, you being a people pleaser. And that's why it's a toxic trait. It doesn't work out for anyone. It doesn't work out for the other people, because you not telling them what you want, or being fair, sorry, I should say, about, and healthy about what you want, is going to mean that you're not giving them the opportunity to show you. And this is the real toxic part of it, because when you actually say what you want from somebody, even if they disagree, even if you have to compromise, whatever it is, that's great. I'm just talking about the ability to talk about it, not nag, like I said, not go on and on, just bring it up, right? That is the opportunity to give people to show you the type of relationship you're in. Because if every single time you want to do something different, or you have a different perspective, or you have whatever you have and you're being shut down, that person might just be enjoying you as a slave in their life that they get to narcissistically draw all this energy from, right? Or you'll realize that, oh, certain people are actually willing to make some adjustments, some compromises in these relationships. They actually care about me. And that feeling that you're going to get from doing that is what's going to actually strengthen those relationships. If you stand up in a relationship as a woman, you say, do you know what, this is something I actually want to do, like, let's say in the bedroom. I'm mentioning this for women because it doesn't seem men have as many issues be desiring to, have sex and stuff when it comes to marriage and all that, right? But if you can say, like, you know what, babe, this is actually something I'd like to try, because we do have desires as women. I know that we try to keep our decorum, we try to keep it classy and all that, but say what is something that you want. You'd be surprised how interested that person is to hear, right? Even in your relationships, be okay with a little bit of friction. I think sometimes people pleasers are scared of friction, and friction a lot of the time is what shows you what is actually well made, right? Because think about it, guys, if car wheels, right, I was having this conversation with somebody else the other day because there was snow, right, and I was thinking that, car wheels should not be thrown off by the smallest amount of ice or snow on the ground, because what's the point? You're supposed to have friction. You're supposed to be able to endure a certain level of friction and still endure the job that you're set for. Otherwise, what's the point, right? And that's the same with relationships. If you don't have a relationships where you can endure the friction, yes, you might, have a little, like, oh, I don't really agree with that, I don't really agree with that. That's an opportunity to be mature, respectful adults. And that's what I think isn't taught enough. That's what I think a lot of people pleasers hide behind, like, oh, I just want to make sure everybody's happy. No, everybody isn't happy because you're not. Anyways, and was that all I got to say? Because I feel like it's one of those videos I'm going to close off now, and then after the fact I'll be like, I should have said this, should I delete it, should I refilm? This is what I do. But that's essentially what I'm saying. It's a two-sided street. Yes, are there people who take advantage of people pleasers? Should you stay away from them? Yes. But also, you can't hold somebody accountable for everything like that when you are the one who is not voicing what you want. And either or is going to create a toxic relationship. It is a toxic trait. We have to own it and we have to release it in the name of Jesus. It's okay. You do deserve to be happy. You do deserve good things, right? Sometimes you have to endure conflict from it. Sometimes you have to endure slightly harder times. And sometimes you have to lose people. We have to become comfortable as people pleasers with losing people who never were really invested in us. Because I'll tell you something. You can spend your whole life pleasing people and get to 60, 70, whatever, and realize you never lived for yourself. You never lived a life you truly loved. You lived it for all these other people. And guess what? They're happy over there because they got what they wanted. They lived a full life. They did what they wanted to do. And you can't put all the blame on them because you chose to engage in that. And that's why we have to break out of that. Like I said, it's not about nagging. It's not about demanding everything you want. It's about being open to just say, you know what? I don't want to do this. right? I lost a friendship because of this, guys. There was a situation with a very close friend of mine, actually, and this is fairly recent, right? I say recent, it's like a year ago now. And this friend wanted to do something, you know, for their birthday, and I was like, hey, I'm happy to like do something separate with you, but I don't feel comfortable doing what you're doing, because what this person was going to do, I didn't want to be involved in, right? It was going to involve a lot of alcohol, a lot of being out in London, just acting crazy. I've graduated from that stage in my life. In the past, I would have just gone along, hoped I didn't see anyone, hope everything's fine, pray to the Lord, like, God, please let everything be fine. But this time I said, you know what, I'm just going to say what I think, because even though I could go if I needed to or I wanted to, even though I could go if I wanted to, why can't we do something separate, you know? Because I can't go that far, because it's too much to risk. I have a reputation in my own career, people who look up to me, people who see me, the jobs that I do, not to mention the fact that I actually feel strongly convicted not to do it. If I didn't care, if I didn't feel an internal conviction, if I wanted to, I would have done it. It's not about some like weird, like, oh, religious thing. It's not about some weird, like, I have to do this, I have to do that. It's, I internally felt strongly like I didn't want to be a part of it, mainly because of a lot of the people that were going to be there, and I knew it was going to be one of those very messy situations. And guess what, guys? That person never spoke to me again to this day. And this was literally my closest friend that I had until that point. And so, you know, I realized a lot, because I thought, you didn't even have the energy, you didn't even stop to say, you know, to at least, and this is why sometimes I appreciate the people who who are passionate enough to question and query and be like, why, but why not? You know, because at least they're having that tension with you, like, I want to see you, I value you, like, what's happening. It wasn't even that. It was like, oh, now that we're on this stage, you don't want to do what I want to do, I'm not even going to talk to you. And I learned a lot, and I was like, wow, is that how it's going to go? I thought we were going to have a conversation. I thought even maybe you're going to be upset. Maybe you're going to not talk to me for a week, 2 weeks. It would be fine, right? Because I get it. You disappointed I wasn't there. You know, we're supposed to be best friends and whatever. But there's loads of people going. I was only not coming because of how many people were going, and I knew the people that were going. And I knew that, you know, they would still have a good time, and we could still do something separate, you know, at the time. So if they were going to be mad at me, it'd be fair enough, because it was one of those things that was worth us getting into an argument for, but I didn't think it was going to end our whole friendship. And it was one of those things that taught me that lesson of sometimes it can be the smallest of things. And there's been many times before where we haven't been able on each other's birthdays to see each other that day, because we've lived in different areas or whatever. So we might do multiple things for our birthday, and we do one thing that's just between the two of us, you know what I mean? So it wasn't outside of the norm, but it was like, this is what this person wanted to do. And obviously now I wasn't going along with it, and that was that, you know what I'm saying? And so I had to realize that, wow, you're gonna let something like this, you didn't even have the kahunas to actually, I would have rather this person actually lost it with me, and it was like, you know how much it means to me that you're not going to be there. Then we could have talked about it, right? Then we could have talked about it, and then maybe I would have been like, well, these are my concerns, and these are whatever. Maybe I didn't see this person's perspective, maybe I didn't understand completely why it was so important, because I didn't think it was going to be an issue, because this is something we've done before, you know. And that didn't happen, and it all was because I was in the season of like, are you going to keep just agreeing to stuff, or are you going to stay and say, you know what, I don't feel comfortable doing this for XYZ, right? I didn't feel comfortable being out drinking loads in the middle of London, going around wherever, and I saw what they did after I didn't go, and I was so grateful I didn't go. I'm not in that stage of my life where I do stuff like that, right? And I didn't want to be there. I didn't know who I would bump into. I didn't know what clients that I work with, what professional clients and people I'll be working with. It would be a different story if she said, let's all have a girly sleepover, you know, at my house, and we'll drink and we'll eat and whatever. Then I would be like, okay, cool, at least we're in the confines of somebody's house, whatever, and the safety of that. But what if things get crazy? And the other girls, they've done crazy things that were there. They've done crazy things at times when we've been out, you know, and I wasn't ready for that. I was not prepared to put myself into that situation. I was not prepared to people please. And so that's why I share this stuff with you guys. There is a sacrificial element, but you'll realize that you're better off, right? You'll realize you're better off, and you'll be expanding way less energy trying to do things, or trying to feel okay, or trying to look okay with doing things that you actually don't want to be doing. So anyways, guys, I hope this was helpful. This is just my thoughts. This is just where me and the Lord are at, the conversations we've been having together at the moment, you know, going through all of my own traits and experiences. I have to call this not because I'm trying to judge anybody else, but I need to call it out in myself, because I can't live a life where I just people please, because it's not healthy. It's a toxic trait, right? We all deserve to be happy in our relationships. We all deserve to have, compromise on what we both want. And we deserve to have people who are invested in what we want, not just always addicted to what they want and caring about what they want. And when you put yourself in that position with those types of people, a lot of them will just take advantage and will take, like absolute predatorial people. They won't care about your feelings. They won't hold back because they realize this is the perfect victim. This is the person I can exploit to the end of time. I've experienced it, guys, over and over again. By the way, I want to specify that I'm not mostly even talking about in like romantic relationships. I'm talking mostly other types of relationships, okay? Anyways, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you are enjoying the vibe, what do I say? If you're feeling the vibe and you want to join the tribe, hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the like button as well. God bless every single one of you, and I'll see you in my next one. Goodbye.